Hey guys, welcome to the first ever episode of the Acre Podcast, brought to you by Fellowship Memphis. Acre meaning arts, culture, religion, and entrepreneurship. That's a mixed bag, but it's things we like to talk about, so we're going to talk about them. Today in studio, we're going to have Bryson, who is the lead pastor of Fellowship Memphis. And he's going to be talking specifically about the Engage Memphis Fund, which he calls a mutual fund of goodness. It's about $200,000 set aside within the Fellowship Memphis budget that just goes to bless any and everybody in need. So it can go to international missions, it can go to foster care, and we'll get into all this in the conversation as you'll see. Hope you enjoy it, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, wait, sorry, Daniel McGarry, our tech producer. He will be joining us on the podcast as well, and I'm your host, Seth Jones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Bryson. All right, well, welcome. We got Bryson in the studio today on the very first ever podcast from Acre, a podcast coming out of Fellowship Memphis. Welcome to the podcast, Bryson.
I'm glad to be here. I love starting things. Love new things.
This is going to be fun. So, obviously, you being the lead pastor of Fellowship Memphis, you're going to have plenty of conversations moving forward in this forum, on this podcast for both our people in Fellowship Memphis, outside Fellowship Memphis, but something really particular is coming up in May.
Right.
And that is going to be a pretty significant focus on what Fellowship does with their Engage Fund.
Right.
So I remember when I came in, this was November of 2016 or 15, I didn't really understand what the Engage Fund was. It was sort of this deal that sort of existed outside the regular budget. I didn't know what it was going to. So I think this would be also beneficial for me to kind of gain some clarity on what exactly we're doing with that. What the original vision was behind it, and where we see it going in the future. So as we're sort of encroaching upon May, why don't you just fill us in on what the Engage Fund is, how it got started, and what we're probably going to be looking at in May, and kind of just let us know some of that.
Yeah, great. Love to do that. We were probably 4 or 5 years old as a church, and began to have some needs and some dreams that we knew would exist outside of our normal operational giving. And we had always, and still to this day, have one primary way to give to Fellowship Memphis. And we have a budget every year and get that approved, and then we have an operational giving, and then we have, like you mentioned, an Engage Fund. And Engage, I like to call it a mutual fund of goodness. It tackles some needs and some opportunities that we draw attention to once a year, and we try to fill that fund up, and then it serves us and allows us to meet needs and seize opportunities for the next calendar year. And so our very first year, I remember we went way out there and thought, man, if we could just raise $25,000, that would be amazing. And then it was 50, and then 100, then 150, and right now it's right around $200,000 a year, and we're revisiting that before we go with a final number for May. But
so what was that first year? When was it started?
That was probably, if we started in 2003, that was probably 2008, 2009.
So 5 years into the church.
Yeah.
So what kind of prompted that initial, let's start something separate?
Yeah, one was catalytic, and so we really wanted to be involved in helping pull funds together to do things in the city, to help some of the nonprofits, parachurch ministries in the city. We wanted to have a place where we could help fund our people to go on international mission trips. We wanted to have a place that could help in the area of just immediate needs. So somebody's house burned down, somebody's car broke down. We're not having to go up on a Sunday weekly and go, hey, this horrible thing happened to somebody in our body. Can we all pitch in and help? They know by giving. We know by giving to Engage, we're able to respond immediately as a church. So we're not having to raise funds for that. We're able to help meet that need immediately. So it's got both sides of that coin: a need meeting side and a catalytic, let's be a part of this financially side.
Now I remember one of the funny stories that always got told to me when I first came in here was we used to have some sort of like a grocery program, right? And
yes.
So was this in an effort to kind of combat some of the
Yeah, we quickly got a whole lot of street traffic, and the word got out that Fellowship was very generous with whoever came by their office, and so we were a young, new organization, not quite sure how to respond to that kind of need.
This is in the very
city.
early days, right?
Yes, and so we finally got some policy and procedure and some wisdom from those who've been in Memphis longer than us, and we do respond appropriately, but we do respond appropriately.
Yeah, so the intent behind it, obviously, is sort of similar behind the Engage Fund. Just the Engage Fund gives us some structure.
It does, and it prioritizes the members of our church. And so those who have partnered with us allows us to come beside them on mission trips. It helps. It does a lot of things. We can get into them. It helps fund campus outreach. And so
what is that for? I still don't really understand what campus outreach does.
Yeah, campus outreach is a campus ministry. It ministers to not just the University of Memphis, but also Rhodes and Lemoyne, and so a couple other campuses around. They partner with local churches. So in Memphis, it's Second Presbyterian and Fellowship Memphis, and so we kind of share staff. Some of those staff they are on campus all day, every day. They bring students.
Is this Denny?
Denny, and it's been Tony, and Tony just transitioned to Chicago with Denny, and then also a bunch of. So we've got 24 campus outreach Fellowship Memphis students who are going on a summer mission trip to South Africa this summer.
Oh, wow.
Well, instead of all 24 of those people knocking on doors around Fellowship Memphis, we're able to say, hey, Engage Memphis will invest $6,000 or whatever it ends up being, $8,000 to help launch those students into summer programs in South Africa this summer.
So if campus outreach is a significant focus, are there multiple?
There
besides
are.
That, they're like mainstreams.
And we shift it each year, and we announce it each year. It's mainly it's kind of, most years it's broken down 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%. So 20% of Engage Memphis.
The mutual fund.
Yes. So you've got the benevolence response crisis piece of it. You've got international and local missions. We've had our 117 ministry, the foster care and adoption that we're able to do in that, the campus outreach that we're able to be a part of that, and then church planting as people are requesting help financially, or churches that we've partnered with financially. And so it's usually those are the 5 strategic outreaches that our elder board and staff team settle on and get excited about. Some of those have been tweaked and changed. Some of them have been combined, but we on the front end say, hey, we're trying to raise X amount of dollars. Here's how we see it playing out. And obviously, we can't exactly predict how many financial crises our members will have next year, so it moves a little bit, but roughly that's what that is.
So does this? You said it's $200,000 is the budget for this year.
Yes.
So does that exist outside of the budget for Fellowship Memphis operations?
Yes. So it's the one designated fund. We also have a residency fund as well. I can talk about that, but it's the one of 2 designated funds that aren't part of our operational funds. Now, they partner together. So like our operational fund funds a baseline salary for our residents, and historically Engage Memphis has helped pay for their seminary. And so there are some things that overlap and enhance each other. But again, we're really clear on the areas that we're raising money for Engage, what they go to.
So when you think back 2008 to today, what are some of those moments that you've seen Engage just completely transform somebody's life, or some stories that stick out to you?
Yeah, well, hundreds, thousands of responses to people within our body that have had needs where one of our outpost pastors or one of our pastors were able to literally respond immediately to a need. The churches we've been able to partner with and help plant, the residents, over 40 or 50 of them now that have graduated, that really got them launched into vocational ministry without debt of seminary.
Where are all those residents now?
Oh, they're all over the place. It's amazing. They were just talking to a guy the other day that was telling me Tony just moved to Chicago, Tony Detman, and had ran into 4 of our residents in Chicago in very strategic roles of church. He was just, I can't believe Memphis and Fellowship Memphis is shaping Chicago with residents that have gone there. And Texas, California,
that's right,
just
Texas,
all over. Don't mess with Texas. So it's they're literally just all over. Some of them have planted churches, some of them have stayed here in Memphis. We've been able to help enhance the staff of several churches here in Memphis, which is great. Some have planted churches in Memphis, some have joined existing churches around the country and planted churches around the country.
That the first branch you said of the first 20% giving to needs around the community.
Yes.
How has that kind of played out to help people that you've seen?
As nonprofits have come to us to be a partner on something or sponsor something, or it's just kind of our civic duty to the nonprofit and parachurch community that we so appreciate. Usually there's a tie to our church, and so a bunch of our people are deeply involved there, so it would make sense that we would invest some financially, or some of the key leadership are part of our church. And so we've got a team on our elder board. I'm not on that team that determines the actual who gets disbursements and how much we're going to invest in a ministry, maybe a startup that somebody in our church is doing that we want to help financially because no one else quite knows what this is or what it's doing. So
wow, okay.
It just allows us to be able to, again, corporately, somebody could go to 20 people and find, I bet, 20 supporters within Fellowship Memphis. But also it takes the pressure off our people to go, hey, when you give to Fellowship Memphis, we are giving to Campus Outreach and to these ministries in the city. That could change each year. So
it was crazy when just some conversations I've had over the couple of years, just there have been some people that have joined alongside the work of Fellowship Memphis specifically because of the Engage Fund.
Yes.
I know we have a sign language interpreter at East Memphis on Sunday mornings where, she started a business just to help with Engage.
She did. Real passionate about it and tithed some of her profits off her business she started, which is booming. And so she's great, and I love that.
Yeah. So what's happening in May?
In May, we're going to take, actually we may even start last week or two of April. Easter's coming, obviously. We're just going to start drawing attention to Engage, just like you move people into being enlightened and educated about what Engage is. We actually, some people give to that year round. Some people give. We try to get a bulk of it raised in May so we don't have to kind of keep talking about it. And our people have always responded tremendously. And so it's been an amazing way for us to kind of give above and beyond our normal giving to fuel causes and people and responses that our people are passionate about. And occasionally, if we were going to quantum leap something, I would probably try to do that through Engage. And so if we were going to try to go from 4 residents to 8, I would probably say, let's make that a piece of Engage. Let's all pull together. We're going to try to do $250,000, and we're going to double our residency. That would be a ideal Engage strategy.
Wow. So if someone gives to Engage, they are giving a set amount of money. It goes into, like you're saying, the mutual fund of goodness.
Yep.
And then the disbursement of those funds gets determined by...
There's a team of our pastors and elders and a couple of teams each year. And we kind of revisit that each year as well. Okay. And some take on the role of what needs within our body are we going to respond to. And there's some policy and procedure as well. We don't give more than X number of dollars to any one person, or we don't fund more than 20% of a mission trip someone's going on, just to make sure that that's not being abused in any way or preventing someone from doing the work of raising support for a mission trip. But we're their church, and we want to be a part of them getting to experience the gospel in another culture. And so we want that to appropriately be a huge encouragement, but not be too much of any one thing. Yeah.
I thought it was always interesting, though, that the size of the church that Fellowship Memphis is compared to its budget size, because they don't own property,
right?
They're able to kind of slim things down a little bit, and that's really intentional as well, right? With asking people not necessarily to say, hey, 10%, but do 2 or 4, and then go take the other and go bless the community of Memphis. And
I don't know if we've ever formally codified that or talked about that. I've talked about I talk about it a lot to individuals and individually that I don't expect Fellowship Memphis to get a full 10% of anyone's giving. I love the fact that our people are more directly tied to causes, I believe, because they give financially. One model is, hey, give all your giving to the church, and then our leadership team, our elder team, will vet and look at missionaries and people and determine who officially we as a church are going to help financially. And we've just kind of we've deconstructed that a little bit, decentralized that, and basically said, hey, here's our budget number we've got to have to keep the lights on, keep moving forward. But boy, be generous above and beyond us, and go get directly tied into missionaries in our city and around the globe, as well as great gospel causes. And we encourage that, and have always been really open-handed with encouraging that.
Yeah. So 2008 starts at about $20,000. Big dreams, $25,000.
Yeah.
Right now it's at $200,000. Where do you see the future of Engage heading? Are there? You're a futurist, so are there certain projects that you see coming under the Engage umbrella that maybe aren't on the docket right now, but perhaps are on your radar moving forward? That
Yeah. They're. Yes, I definitely see that. I think if we continue showing certain dimensions of proven ministry, like our residency would be one. There's been enough proven work now in our rearview mirror that if we were to move to double that, like the illustration I used a minute ago, I think a bunch of our people could be really excited about that. And so I like asking people to give above and beyond to really proven things and proven models and models that can scale. And here's not just what we want to do, but here's how we want to do it. And then here's the financial piece, but here's every other piece that we need for this to happen. And so anywhere I would say there's a new opportunity, which I love new opportunities, that it makes sense in every other way. The only missing piece is financially. Mm-hmm. And it's before we raise money for Engage. You can't always perfectly time when those are either. I might have to get up in November and go, this is too good an opportunity for us to pass up on. Every other thing's in place. The only thing missing is the upfront cash. This office we're in was one perfect example. So we had about an 8-week window to decide to move up here and remodel it and raise the money and sign the contract. And we just went before the body and said, here's the artist renderings. Here's what I would use for construction. Here's why. Here's the first 10 years we were in this office space, but here's why this makes sense. And it made sense, except for we didn't have $200,000 to do all the remodel. And we had just raised money for Engage 2 months before. So
it was there in the Engage fund?
No, we hadn't. So it wasn't on our radar when we did Engage. And so that was an opportunity where I just said, hey, we've got a need. Here's what it was. Yeah. And so I've got a 13-year track record of just bringing what we need when we need it to our body. But as much as we can foresee something, and it's a strategy of Engage, then it'll be a part of Engage.
Yeah. So let's say we head into May, we're telling the stories about what Engage has done.
Yeah.
Coming out of that, if let's say best case scenario, people get really excited about it and they go over and above what even is budgeted. What happens to excess dollars? Do those get appropriated in some strategic way? Or
I've always we've had a history before of saying, hey guys, we've raised it. You know what I'm saying? We don't need any more. When I've even in the early days had sent a check back saying, hey, if you want me to do something else with this, I promise you I can find a good cause or something we can do. But man, we're full.
That's cool.
In other years, I've said, hey, we went past the mark. We'll probably push our next I remember one year we raised 30 or 40,000 more than we needed. Anytime that happens, anyone who give can take back whatever they have. I don't know if anybody's ever actually taken me up on that, but we pushed it, so we didn't raise Engage for another year and a half. So it pushed how. Okay. Do you know what I'm saying? We just didn't do it. We didn't do it that next year.
So when you say 200,000, you mean 200,000?
Yeah, that's what we. And yes.
Yeah, you're not looking to go even over and above that and then raise the same amount or up the budget next year. Or just
and when we go a little bit over, I'd say it would push the Engage campaign. If we went a lot over, I think we might go, man, is there something? There's always a wish list. Is there something on the wish list that it makes sense? That again, the finance. Cash is always a piece. Mm-hmm. Cash itself can accomplish nothing. It's got to be a leadership structure and a strategy we all believe in, and it complements everything else we're already doing. But if it checks all those other boxes and the only thing missing is cash, then we would have conversations about that, and just say, hey, do we want to jump on this now because we have some funds available that fit all these other paradigms and everything we talked about in how these funds would be, it fits that as well. Like it's not out of step with how we raise this money.
Yeah.
So the residency might be a great example. We raised it for 4. We had 20 or 30,000 more, and so we were able to do 6 residents instead of 4. And residency is it's really a 3-headed monster because Engage helps with their seminary. Our operating budget helps with part of their salary, and then they raise part of their salary. So that there's really a 3-headed beast that makes the residency program work.
Yeah. It's funny because, one of the, complaints that I hear all the time from people about specifically the church, from people that are outside the church, is that church is just a business. It's run like a business. But, from what you're saying, the Engage Fund, to me, seems to really combat the narrative of church as a business.
Yeah, I hope so.
And just set that aside. And I think it does really good things to kind of reconstruct people's perceptions of what the church can do.
We try to be just as open and honest as possible. The finances is a part of a church. We don't run from that. I've tried to be honest and direct. We print our weekly giving every week. We print our budget number. We print where we are for the week, where we are for the month, where Engage is. And so that information is available to people all the time as they're choosing to give or not give or invest or not invest in what we're doing as a church.
So come May, if people want to get involved, in what way, how do they do that? Do they go online and donate there, or do they email JB, or
like I said, it's I think online, last time I checked, when you're giving online, there's a drop down menu that allows you to say, I think it defaults to operational, and then there's engage, and then there's residency.
Okay.
And so those are
is that right, McGarry?
three different ways you can.
I'm pulling that up right now.
Three different ways you can direct those things. If it's a written check, just engage in the memo will work.
Okay.
And if it's cash, envelope with engage written on the front, we'll get the job done.
And then if it's over budget, you get the check back.
Yeah, exactly. We at least ask you, hey, what do you want us to do with this?
Yeah.
So.
Now, obviously, they can do the online or they can do the check, but there's something different starting this year, right?
Right,
With
yeah.
the Amazon partnership.
Amazon started a really cool deal called, you can find it at smile.amazon.com. And I'm a massive Amazon shopper. It's about 90% of what I get
you and the
shipped
rest
to my
of the
front
world.
door. Yeah, Prime, everything. But every time I do something, every time anyone orders, and they, instead of going to Amazon.com, they go to smile.amazon.com. You get the same selection, same price, except when you make your purchase, Amazon will donate to Engage Memphis 0.005% of your purchase, which you're out nothing, and it makes a donation. And so if all of us could do that, I think it can make an impact on Engage.
So what's the URL or the website to go to?
Just always put smile.amazon.com.
Okay, so instead of going to just Amazon.com.
Correct. And you have to do that every time, unless you set up some.
So every time you go into Smile, do you have to pick where you're going to send it as well?
No, it'll remember your choice, and you can just, first time you're going to need to just put in Fellowship Memphis, you'll see it. And though it may say Fellowship Memphis, we've designated that specifically for Engage.
Awesome. Okay, cool.
Yeah. One other unique way you can give, that's a great one because it costs you nothing, is you can give stuff at Fellowship Memphis /give. It's set up for asset giving, stocks, and regular giving and all that. You can also donate computers, laptops, all kinds of stuff. Anything. They go on a secondary market. They sell it. Fellowship Memphis gets the proceeds. You get the tax deduction. And so some of us are challenging ourselves to live more simply, to not just give from our income, but also say, man, what stuff is of value that I'm not using that I can just simply ship away? They send you the things to even ship it to them in, no cost to you. And it's a great way. And you can, again, select operations or Engage when you give away stuff. And
so if you go through that process, they will walk you through everything.
Oh, it's so easy. You make one inquiry, and they send you the box, or we've had people donate cars, and they come with the tow truck if it doesn't run and tow it off. And so it's really no sweat off your back at all, and you're able to give from your stuff.
Wow. Okay. So there's tons of ways to give to Engage.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, cool. So that's coming up in a few weeks. Thanks for being the first guest ever, and probably one of the most recurring moving forward.
Well, hey, I look forward to that. This will be a great way for us to further explain things to our body that sometimes an announcement or a video announcement just doesn't give you the bandwidth to be able to really kind of talk about it.
That's right. I think as people hear from you and hear from different members of our body, hear from people in Memphis just about what they're doing, Fellowship's very strange. It's a very strange church. It doesn't look like what you would think of when you think of the American church, and I'm sure all that gets fleshed out, as we continue this. But
I would prefer unique to strange.
It's a strange,
Kind
unique place.
of has a negative connotation. Unique is like intriguing.
What I meant to say was it's a unique place full of life.
Yes.
But I think this is going to be a great way to kind of help people understand the philosophy.
Yeah, I agree.
Of why
agree.
Fellowship does the things that it does.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for being here. We'll get another one going soon.
Thanks, man.
All right. John Bryson, everybody.